Hey guys, welcome to Multitaskr. I'm Joe Frosto, CEO and founder of Multitaskr, a marketplace where we unite homeowners and the best service providers in your area. But today I want to welcome you to our podcast. It's called the Home Solutions Network Podcast, and we're going to be introducing the top service providers, clients that have used our marketplace, and some of the people that direct this company, and very exciting stories. The goal of the podcast is to save you time, save you money, give you insights, give you tips, and create value for your home. So come on in and let's check it out. Hello everyone, welcome back to Multitaskr's Home Solution Network Podcast, a marketplace where we unite homeowners and service providers. Today I'm sitting down with Sidney Loiseau, certified residential appraiser and founder of South Shore Appraisals in San Diego, California. Sidney, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So our listeners get to know a little bit more about you and why we invited you. Tell us a little bit about your background, a little bit about what is South Shore Appraisals and who Sidney is.
God, who is Sidney? That's like a loaded question, you know? First and foremost, I would say I'm into anything extreme, extreme sporting. So my start was I wanted to be like a professional surfer, and you know that didn't really pan out. And then a friend of mine back in 2002, he was a loan officer and said, "Hey, why don't you like be an appraiser?" And I was like, "What's that?" And so I think I looked up the yellow book. Hopefully I'm not dating myself too much. And I found an appraiser and I asked if I can follow them for, a couple of days. And within the first day I said, "Wow, like this is what you do." And so I went to the school right away and I got licensed as an appraiser, worked under as an apprentice for a few years. This was back in Orange County. So I used to appraise in Orange County, LA. And then grabbed a few guys from that office and started my own business in 2005.
Nice.
And then the market crashed.
Yes, I lived that.
Yeah. And so, when the market crashed, I relocated to San Diego. I figured that if I should start a new business, I can pick a new location. And so started in San Diego by myself, and then slowly started building up a business model from there. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. So what year was it when you moved to San Diego?
I moved to San Diego in 2008, and then did a little bit of asset management work, working for Chase Bank for about a couple years.
The foreclosures and all that.
Yeah, so every house was empty, super depressing for myself because everything you went into was like ripped out, aluminum or like copper from the walls. So it was a really strange time in real estate. But I got a taste of like working for like big corporate. And then after a couple of years, I said, you know what, I'm going to start appraising for myself again. So in 2010, started South Shore Appraisals. But I had a different way of kind of building this business model, because prior to all my eggs were in one basket. Everything came from origination, from like purchase and refi. So I figured, how do I build a business that is economy proof? And so then I started going after attorneys and investors and really building a business around non-origination, so that if something did happen to interest rates, my business would be unaffected.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's where we created Multitaskr too.
Yeah.
Because I lived 2008.
Okay.
You know, and so even though you were a good, I had a mortgage company, real estate company, and even though we did very well when the market crashed, you're tied to the cycles, right?
Exactly.
And the clients were calling me, telling me, help me. And I was able to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then that really showed me how if you can create something that gives value to consumers in any cycle it's in, you're going to have something that can be recession proof, right?
Exactly.
So we identified on that.
Yeah, it's a great thing, and I think to further that point, it's where you have to empower people with like knowledge base, and I'm sure we'll get into this in our conversation about really being the one that instructs others or give people the information and to allow them to make awesome decisions for themselves, right? So it's like when that whole adage, like knowledge is power, it's very true. And that's kind of what we decided to do as a company model is we're just here to educate people. Once you do that, they're going to seek you as anytime a professional can teach other professionals, they seek you as like the expert in the field, and that's what we wanted to design our business in South Shore. So
what's your favorite part of it, of appraising of your company right now?
I hate to be wrong, so I would have to say like, but I'm humble in my approach, but I would say research because of that. We pride ourselves in research, and problem solving, that in real estate, it's, you want to solve people's problems, so it actually goes back to the appraisal process. Is first you identify the problem, whatever that is. And then my scope of work is what's it going to take to solve that problem. So when it comes to whether it's dealing with accessory dwelling units and the what ifs, or it's, present day value for future use for whatever investors would like. Well, okay, what is the problem? What are you trying to achieve? And then it's based on our research that allows us to really go in and says, okay, you know what? Like, this is how we're going to solve this problem. So, when I say hate to be wrong, the more research we do and building up, whether it's algorithms or case studies on everything that we touch, the next time we come across that product or that problem, we're more better to tackle it at a more efficient time. And, at the end game, the buyer or the client, benefits from that, right? So, yeah, I would say that's my favorite. I think I gave you 2 answers. But.
No, but I mean, I would say it's a complicated task. Like me, I mean, there's been parts where I've also been, buying properties and investing and doing all that. And I remember I didn't know you back then, but I would call a couple of appraisers I would know and ask them, like, run some comps for me. Look at what if I do this, what is it going to be worth, right? And so we're depending a lot on what the appraiser is saying, on what they assume the future value is going to be. Yeah. And we're investing money or other people's money. And if that doesn't work out, we're like, hey, you told me. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Where it's a risk, we understand that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is it's fun because you kind of look at the future and you make educated guesses, right? But you look at a lot of data, right, to be able to feel good about it. And that's great that you don't like to make mistakes because it's important in your career.
Absolutely. Right? But I think it's important also you have to be creative. You have to have integrity, and you have to be willing to take the step outside the box. And I'm hoping that my peers are willing to do that still. I think in any industry, you have those who are willing to do a little bit more than others. And I think because I want to be creative in the way that I see the entire picture. Like, what is the bigger picture here? And I kind of reverse engineer that. And you do as well, very well, in your business. And it's like, okay, well, how do I look outside the norm? And then, because in order to build a way of appraising any certain model or anything new, when solar panels came out, it was new. How do you appraise it? How do you input this into the market? You have to think outside the box. You have to be willing to be maybe that first one that says, you know what, I'm going to kind of like, I'm going to shoot first and aim later. And then I think by doing that, it becomes a social norm. Like, oh, this is how you value this. But, when we're talking about accessory dwelling units or anything in that realm, it's brand new. Well, how do you look at that? And I think so being creative, and then for the investor, having integrity, because I'm not here to make you happy, right? And a lot of people want to give the answer that's going to make someone happy. But when you're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, I'm here to give you as much honesty and truth from my opinion. And then from there, you can decide how you would like to take that, right? And I think that's when you're using other people's money, treat it like your own and says, well, this is where I feel like the valuation may happen. And if we don't agree, that's fine. We can talk about the methodologies, but I think my job is to just give you the numbers, and then keep the emotion out of it. So,
Great. So for our listeners that maybe have done a couple of appraisals when they buy a house or when they refi a house, can you explain, let's do appraisal 101, right? What is an appraisal? How does it work? How does it function normally? And then what you do at South Shore may be different than the others.
Okay. Yeah, that's a loaded question. An appraisal. So really the appraisal deals on what we call law of substitution, right? And what that is basically what one person won't pay more for a same product, right? Or something different. So what it means is if I had a 2,000 square foot house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, and I'm going to compare it to a model matched home, and that I have 3 of them. One sold for 505, 510, and then 505. no one's going to pay $550 for that property. Now, you can take that away because in this market that we're in right now, probably someone would pay $600 for that, right? But on normal terms, arm-length transactions, people are going to pay the same for the same product. So how appraisals work is I'll go to a property and I'll figure out, okay, here's a subject property because that's usually the main home. Whatever the features are, whether it's they're on the coast, they have a tennis court, they have a pool, and they have solar. The way it works is if my subject property, let's say, has 5 different items, and I can't find a home with 5 items, but one house has 4 of the items, another one has 3 of the items, then we want to figure out, well, what's the value added for the item that they don't have? Okay, so we're basing the subject property and we compare it to what they call comparables. So let's say the tennis court is worth 50 grand. The location of the home being by the coast is 100 grand. The view is 75 grand. And we start to build these models and we float these around and we call that units of comparison. So if you look at an appraisal report, there's all these lines, lot size, location, bedroom count, all these different things. Those are the units and we compare each one. Even the value of a 0 has to be explained because everything should have a contributory value towards an item, even if it's non-permitted space. Enclosed patios. So we look at every line item and we say, is there a contributory value? And if there isn't, why not? And if there is, why is that? And what is that based on? We call that paired sales analysis. So we're taking other homes and we're analyzing differences and similarities and saying, well, this is why this home sold for 600 and this is why this home sold for 625, based on dissimilarities. Furthermore, I think what people get perplexed with is, well, if all your data comes from history, like we're always getting sales that have closed, how does it ever go up, right? Because it's that gray area. The way that happens is just how I've somewhat explained is, let's say you're the diamond, your home's a diamond amongst all the other jewels. They're all beautiful homes, but they're missing certain things. Whether, let's say, it's hardscaping, like there's an identical home to yours, but it didn't have hardscaping. And there's an identical home to the one with hardscaping, but they didn't have a pool. Well, then I look at the comparables and I says, well, there's a difference of 50 grand between the pool and the hardscape. So then I'll shelf that one. And I look at other dissimilarities and I go, well, the difference between these two is 30 grand. I shelf that. And then I come back and I start building up what my subject has. I go, well, yes, all these other ones sold for 600, but based on all these models of the differences between all these other homes, this is worth 650. And this is how the market, the word isn't push to market, but that's how the market continues to rise. It's because, and then the next time a home is for sale in that neighborhood, we compare it to the one at 650. Is it greater? Is it equal? Is it less? And then, well, that I think a lot of people think that appraisers go out to debunk value. That's not it. There's a sales price, 600,000. I don't know why I'm keep using 600,000. Let's just roll with it. There's a sales price, 600,000. The question I ask is there enough market data to support that price, right? And I'm not hitting a number. I'm just wanting to know, is there enough data that supports that? Because I may come in at 625 and go, wow, that realtor left out a lot of money on the table, right? Because they didn't know how to deal with the algorithm of differences and build up this model. And so that's how essentially an appraisal works. Law of substitution, taking the subject property and how many or which homes are as similar to the subject as possible, and then calculating differences and then and those are called adjustments. So we make adjustments based on dissimilarities, and then that feeds back into the overall value of the subject property.
So when you buy, so listeners that are out there that are buying a house or bought a home or refinancing, nowadays the lender is the one that contacts the appraisal, right?
Yes.
Before 2008, because you remember those days.
Oh,
the loan officer or the homeowner would call you up and say, hey, what do you think this is going to be worth, right?
Yeah.
But now lenders reach out to you and then you do what you just said.
Correct.
When does a homeowner reach out to you that is not, if it's not a refinance or it's not a purchase, then that's when a homeowner could call you for a particular reason. Why would they want to do an appraisal without it being those two reasons that we just mentioned?
For their own knowledge, right? So a couple of things. I mean, anytime it could be a cash deal or you're just curious, right? So if a homeowner is curious about whether I'm going to put my house on the market or, hey, I feel like I'm going to do a certain number of projects to this house. Before I invest $100,000, I want to know if I do this, what will my house be worth afterwards? And that's when they call me. Before you even start a project, you probably want to know, hey, if I'm going to invest this money, am I going to see a return in my investment? I think that's when they call me. And it's really smart too, right? Because again, I'm a soundboard. I'm here to listen to your problem, receive the information and says, okay, based on your specs, and it's all proposed. So it's make believe, but if you do what you say you're going to do, at the end of the day, here's where your value is going to be. Then if things pencil out, they're more comfortable and more willing to do the project because they know, okay, based on models that I've shown you and data, that if you complete this project, then you will see a return or you won't see a return, but at least it still gives you the peace of mind that, we can still follow through. And if we make some changes based on design or, what happens, then, we can still achieve what we want at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Good point. Those are one of the things that Multitaskr and yourself are going to be working on.
Can't wait
to be able to offer that to homeowners as to make decisions, right? That's one of the things that we pride ourselves as well, and that's why we identified so well with you was that we love to educate consumers and empower them with knowledge, and before they commit to some type of investment, remodeling or adding or whatever they're doing, we want to make sure that they feel good about it, that they understand that it makes sense, right? If they're going to do an ADU and it's going to cost them, let's say $200K, hey, how much value am I getting for that, right? And so it's very important to be able to do that and have that knowledge, right? Knowledge is power, as you said.
It's true, and a lot of homeowners don't know, and even real estate professionals don't know, and I think that's where I think the importance comes in. Multitaskr, I mean, I don't want to leak anything, but you guys are onto something that is going to change real estate as people know it, and it's going to streamline everything. And I'm super excited to be a part of it, and it's going to be awesome.
We're excited. We're excited to have you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, question. Well, let me clarify one thing when it comes to refi and purchase, because some people might not know. So, the appraisal, as Sidney mentioned, is mainly when it comes to purchase or refinancing to know what the current value is of the home, right? So, if I'm going to buy the home for $500,000. Does the home appraise currently for $500,000? They're utilizing old comps of properties that sold similar to that home to validate the $500,000. Or if they're refinancing, the lender wants to know what is it worth now? How much equity do you have for you to borrow towards it?
Of course.
So let's say they don't have the luck to meet Sidney or to know Multitaskr, and they're out there talking to a couple other appraisers, or the lender is assigning another appraiser to them. Because they're the ones picking and choosing. What should the homeowner make sure the appraiser is doing to get the right value for the home? Are there like three main things, or is there some particular things they have to ask or look for on the report?
Even before, so I think when you get that phone call from anyone outside of Multitaskr or Sidney, no, there's yes, you want first of all, the appraiser must have competency, And what I mean by that is, have you done this before? If they haven't done it before, they shouldn't be accepting the assignment, or they should be pairing up with someone who has, right? So once you have competency, then you want to ask the homeowner, well, what are your methodologies? How do you go about appraising something like this? And then see how they're speaking to you. If it's making you feel settled and that confident that, okay, this person, he, she has done this before, in my location as well, because every location is different. And I think once you cover those basics of, okay, I'm familiar with the market. I've done these before, so I'm competent. And then here are the steps, my methodologies or scope of work tied around me completing the task. Once you have those and the homeowner feels comfortable, then yeah, go for it. If the homeowner at any point feels like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Lender, this appraiser has never done this before, I want a new appraiser. And that is your right. And they have that right to say, no, I want you to use somebody else. And then hopefully that lender within their, stack of appraisals will have someone that is competent, familiar with the market, to appraise that product.
Can they utilize you for to rebuttal the appraisal?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And yes, because, many times I'm the second appraiser, right? Whether it's based on the adjustments that were utilized or the lack of correct data, so, we've really, I would say, changed the game when it comes to appraising accessory dwelling units and the methodologies that we use. A lot of appraisers are not yet utilizing the tools that we have. And that when it comes back to being creative and what makes sense. If something walks and talks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And that's how we treat it. Although on paper, it may show as different, whether it's like, and I say that because whether it's a duplex or an ADU plus single family, a 2-1-1 is a 2-1-1. And the way the eyes and the market perceives that is the same. On paper, it's slightly different, but on everything else says, oh, that's 2-1-1. And how 2 homes on 1 lot rents is different than 1 house on 1 lot rents, because you're sharing spaces now. So
I'm assuming that a lot of appraisers that are not familiar with the ADUs don't know how to interpret properly. And so they're not giving the value correctly that could be given, correct?
Yeah, what they're doing is what I hear they're doing is they're just adding the total square footage. So if you have a 2,000 square foot house and a 500 square foot ADU, they're saying, oh, it's a 2,500 square foot house, and they add the bedroom and bathrooms. But then my question is, well, what do you do with the second kitchen? Right now, if you're in certain parts of La Jolla where there's like Hasidic Jews where they do have 2 kitchens for kosher reasons, that's something completely different, right? But then what do you give value for a second kitchen? And usually it's the sounds of crickets because it's silence and no one knows how to treat that, and other ways are maybe cost approach and things of that nature. So yeah, I think you have to, again, ask those appraisers like those specific questions, just so you can know that, okay, they've done this before and are familiar with this product. Yeah.
Great. So this year in Multitaskr, we're calling it the golden year of the ADUs.
Yeah.
Because there's so much demand, as you know it, for it, especially in California. I mean, there's other states that are catching on.
Yeah.
But California right now is, I would say, one of the main ones that is really pushing to make sure that it can be built, and there's going to be a lot being built. So what are the trends that you're noticing right now when it comes to ADUs from an appraiser perspective?
Yeah. The first trend is that they're happening. People are actually out there building these. One of the better trends I see is design. When it comes to design and lot area ratio, super important. In anything in real estate, you have to feel space in real estate, right? So it's the flow from the main home into the ADU, whether it's detached, attached, and then lot area ratio. People enjoy living outdoors and you have outdoor spaces. So how do you allocate, whether it's a street to alley lot, it's a corner lot, it's an interior lot, how do you manage the flow of the ADU access, egress and ingress into the flow from the ADU so that it doesn't disturb anyone from the main home? So really the end game is, what's it for? Is it you're going to rent out both and you don't care, or you're going to live in one, or you want to give the feel that it's 2 separate spaces, but they also kind of, I guess complement each other, with design, whether it's exterior design and then again, the flow within the lot itself. So,
So let's say we have a client that says, okay, I want to do an ADU. Again, they don't know you or me, and they start the process. When's the right time in that process to call an appraiser?
Right away.
Right away.
Yeah, and I say that with all honesty because again, you're getting ready to invest, right? And depending on your location, an appraiser who's familiar with ADUs, they have seen these in the market. I tell homeowners all the time, you have to be nosy. So whatever it is that you want to do with your property, if there's an open house, go inside and be nosy, because that's the best way for you to know what value is going to come back to you. So if there's an ADU out in the market, you say, oh, look, we have a 1,200 square foot house and there's a 400 square foot ADU. Well, that's going to be your best reflection on market value if you did somewhat of the same thing. So as an appraiser, I see these all the time in different markets. So I'm going to be able to give you, yes, if here's what you should do. And here's my suggestions on size and how you separate spaces based on data. You know, it's things you've already seen. You're just presenting to that homeowner, and then of course cost is something different because the appraiser is not always going to know price per square foot. I'm not a contractor, and that's where someone like Multitaskr comes in and can give you cost factors, and I can give you value. That's all I'm here to do. Is I give you an observation of your space, and I say, if you do this based on the visual, you know, I don't know quality construction, but you can see when something's done like it was crap, you know, and you can tell when something's high quality. Here's what your value is going to be. So I think right away you want to definitely get in contact with an appraiser, and then you also want to get in contact with, you know, contractors who actually have experience building these, dealing with the city, the permit aspect, the design, the architectural, the engineering, everything that's going to take to actually make this happen. So
pretty complex thing to do.
It can be overwhelming
Yes.
if you're trying to do it by yourself. So I think the first thing to do is, okay, what do we want to do? Think about that to yourself. Is that feasible? You know, and having a helping hand along the way, like having an appraiser to give you value, or, you know, a company like Multitaskr to walk you through the steps to saying, yes, it's feasible, or no, this is not feasible, you know, and then going down the process on here's the timeline. Every once in a while, how long it's going to take. And if you do this, you know, the appraisal comes back to the appraiser. Here's the value. Here's the rents you can achieve. And then while you're at it, if you want to improve your existing home, well, the value even goes up even more, right? Because if you have a dilapidated main home and you're doing with this beautiful ADU, it's going to take away from that. So you may want to do some improvements to the main structure as well, so that it complements each other and the value rises together. So, yeah.
Good point. So you've seen a lot of ADUs now, and what would you say from all the data you've seen so far?
Yeah.
Let's focus in Southern California, because I know that's the main area you're in right now.
Of course.
What are the main, maybe 2 or 3 key points that you would tell people to focus on to get the most value on an ADU? Is it the layout? Is it, you mentioned some things here and there,
Yeah.
but let's try to, so they can kind of hear and say, okay, those are the 2 or 3 that I should really look for.
I would say kitchen, bathroom, flooring in the design aspect, and some sort of outdoor space, decking. Because if someone's living there, they're going to want to barbecue, they're going to want to hang out, toss the bean bag or whatnot. So yes, I would say the flow. So what I tend to see is things under 500 square feet. It's like, think of it like a 2-car garage. In a 2-car garage space, how do you get from the entry to the bedroom to the kitchen to the flow outside? So when I say kitchen, bathroom, flooring, it's got to be inviting. Okay, the first thing your eye see is the floors. For some reason, people don't look up. All right, and then the kitchen, depending where it is in the space. So counter spaces, if it's L-shaped, if it's on one wall, if it's a U-shaped, whatever that may be. Bathrooms, you know, people tend to spend a lot of time in those places. And then outdoor spaces, decking, you know, beautiful wood that would complement the space. Because you're going to be sharing a lot with someone. So how do you give them the feel of their own yard, their own personal space? And that's what I would have to tie into. So I would say 4 things. So outdoor space, simple, clean design, some seating, decking, you know, a nice kitchen, basic. It doesn't have to be over the top, but definitely, you know, the comforts that we all want, dishwasher, you know, nice cooktop. People love cooking, a counter space for that. And then bathrooms, something, you know, whether it's a standalone shower combination, whichever.
Great. So let's say they call you, you're going to go and see that and do that, you know, analysis for them and see if it makes sense to invest. What do they have to do to be ready? Do they have to clean the area? Does it matter if there's a ton of mess and they have this old boat in the back and all these things? I mean, what, you know, does it make sense? Does it really make sense to clean or no? Or can you figure it out? What do you tell homeowners that?
They need coffee, because I love coffee, and sparkling water. Those 2 things, it's going to start off really nice for me. No,
you can get a couple, like maybe five grand more in value for that. Right?
So what I would say is, no, it doesn't need to be clean. When I walk into a house, essentially, I don't see anything but walls, right? Because when we're dealing with real estate, we're looking at area, so the size. So there's interior walls, but even all my trainees or my employees, I tell them there's no walls here, right? There's only area. So once we figure out space, like, okay, where are you going to put it based on the distance between the house and where the ADU will start? Of course, there's setbacks. As an appraiser, I know these things because I've done projects, I've been involved in investments as well. So, you know, setbacks, usually it's like 5 feet. I'm like, okay, this is where you want to put it. really what I need from the homeowner is I don't need blueprints. I need to know specs. So if they say Sidney, it's going to be 400 square feet, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. The finishes will be, luxury vinyl plank flooring, quartz countertops. So that's the trend. That's what people are doing to remodel and freshen up their spaces now. And then this is where we want to put it. And then I can take it from there, whether it's an existing detached garage that they're going to convert, or they're saying, or maybe go to, a second story above it. I've seen enough to know that once I get to the property and we walk the lot and we walk the property, they explain to them, this is where you kind of want to put it. What do you think as far as size wise in this market area? Of course, I'll be prepped with, information I can share with them of what I've seen in their specific neighborhood. And then I'll come back with a finished report, identifying the value added if they complete the project per proposed specs. So, yeah.
Do you think rental income for the ADUs bring up more value than just the actual value of the build out itself? What is sort of is there like a little thing they should think of? Like, let's say the construction is going to cost $200,000, right? And you say, okay, yeah, that's going to be great, good layout. That's going to add $200,000 to your overall value. But if they can rent it, right? And then let's say they're going to make $1,500 a month. Is there some sort of rule of thumb that they can say, okay, it might add X more value to my home for doing that?
I would say, generally speaking, and this is like, it's tough to give specific answers for a general question, but 200,000 seems to be the marker for an ADU. I would say 500 square feet and lower. And again, it depends on market areas. So like you and I have talked off camera about, like, if you're building next to a college where they don't rent for the structure itself, they rent per child, I guess per kid. So it's usually $1,200 in that aspect. So if someone's building by a college, I'll tell them to go big, because you can have more bedrooms. More bedrooms mean more, college students in that structure. And instead of your rent being $3,000 a month, now it's $6,000, right? So every market is somewhat different. If you're in like San Diego proper or South Bay proper, by metropolitan, coastal, or by university, the rents are a lot higher than if you're inland somewhere, like Tierra Santa. It's going to be super tough, or University City, because there's not a lot of rental and multifamily development. So it's really tough to apply like a 2-1-1 rental income on a lot like that. It can be done by utilizing different markets. But yeah, I would say, to answer your question, yes. I mean, you can figure out the rule of thumb would be, it's going to add about 200 grand, and rents really depends on location, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. But if they get an amount of rent, there's not really like a value they can kind of say, you know what, if I'm getting X, it might be worth more, or it kind of doesn't really, there's really no.
I think based on sales price, I believe it's like 0.01% of the sales price would be the rent.
Okay.
So whatever that may be, I don't have a calculator.
Yeah. Because I know we have questions clients that have asked that, and so sometimes we don't really know how to haven't been able to really answer it the best way possible. I know that a lot of cities right now are still new to them, right? They still don't know if that's the way, does that make sense to value it that way as well?
Yeah.
I'm assuming, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that the more ADUs they build, eventually big lenders are going to look at it and say, okay, let's come up with certain products that make sense for future value or future rent value.
Yeah.
And then it'll start standardizing a lot of the things.
Well, okay, I think I might have misunderstood your question. So I think to wrap that part would be, we do it differently at South Shore, okay? So when we're looking at an ADU, the rents do equate value.
Okay.
So in the way we do that is I'm looking at the duplex model. So in any multifamily income stream, I would say 4 units and down, you take the monthly rent divided by the average sales price in that neighborhood. And that gives you what we call a GRM, which is the gross rent multiplier. So a GRM could be, let's say it's 200. You would take the 200, multiply that by the rent, and that would give you value. It's the most easiest way to appraise real estate. And so when we started looking at ADUs, I started thinking, I don't know, I had the light bulb moment. I go, oh, well, this is a 2-1-1 because I can give you comparison. Okay, another 80, here's 3 ADUs that sold in the area. But what is the value? When people are investing in ADUs, it's usually the investor mindset that I want the income from that. Well, yes, it's a single family with another home on it. It's not called a duplex, but it acts like a duplex. It rents like a duplex. And so we use the duplex model for that. And even if someone's doing a single family ADU with a junior ADU, again, that becomes a triplex because it's 3 units that can be rented legally. And every city has a different ordinance that you may need to live in at least one of the 3. So that's a little bit different, but it's still income that equates value. So it's GRM is sales price divided by monthly income. And then when you go 5 units and above, the commercial, they call the GIM. It's basically the same thing. You just multiply the monthly income times 12. So you take that multiplied by the annual or the sales price gives you a slightly different number, but it's the same thing that commercial 5 units and up, they use the same structure. So it's the easiest way to do it. I've never had an appraisal come back from a lender because I present it both ways. Mm-hmm. And look, in San Diego and everywhere else, rents are through the roof. So the income value of that proportion is going to be greater than the sales value because the rents are through the roof. Yeah. But I present it both to the lender, and they're probably going to go with the more conservative side because of the sales comparison side. But because they're a bank and they want to be conservative, which is fine, but I've never had one come back. And we don't use vacation rentals because lenders won't use vacation rentals. So it's always based on 12-month leases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Great. So is there anything else that you think we should inform to listeners regarding an appraisal, regarding ADUs right now? Anything you think we're missing?
I would... I think people are afraid to do what they don't know or understand. Mm-hmm. I think a platform like this definitely would get some wheels turning. And I think homeowners need to also think about the long term as it's an investment. If you're looking at, I'm going to put one in today to flip it in 8 months, you're not going to see the same, rise in value because not only does your overall value go up, but you have to think about the amount of monthly income just you're getting from one unit. You could be getting $1,500 to $2,500 on average for something that's in your backyard, mm-hmm. That you normally wouldn't be getting. So, if this is like a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, you're going to see. And every time you refinance the property, you're going to see always a rise in value. And then on top of that, you get utility out of it. So if it becomes a vacation rental where you can vacation rental or you have family coming in town, it's a great way to not only, and that's the best part of real estate, you get to use it and it's utility, right? So you have the best of all worlds. You can rent it when you want, or if it's for mom or a family member, it's great that someone is close but has their own space. So I would say definitely contact an appraiser, contact Multitaskr for sure, because I think they're going to give you be able to walk you through the steps that an appraiser won't be able to walk you. I don't have the time to do that, and I don't have the know-abouts. So I think definitely, what the platform you guys provide is amazing, but don't be afraid to ask the questions, because once you start to go down that line, you start to realize, this is way easier than I thought it would be. Yeah. And then with someone's assistance, you can get that project done in 6 months, so.
Intimidating at first. I know that clients have, when they understand what we do, they go, what? You do everything from A to Z and all I have to do is just see it, understand it. They say yes and that's it.
It almost sounds too good to be true, when someone says, yeah, if you do this, your value is going to increase $250K. But it's not going to cost me, it's going to cost me, $175. I'm like, yeah, that's what exactly, so.
And then we can finance it, and there's so many case studies that's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
we have one right now where client came in with the idea of doing an ADU. That's one of the things we're actually going to talk about down off camera. But long story short, we're going to be able to do 4 units on it, and then that person we're going to do that, and then they have another one that they have a triplex. And we talked to the city. We did the whole thing that we do here.
Nice.
And now we came back with a 10 unit situation. We're getting the financing set up for them. And we're literally changing their income streams completely, 180. And all they had to do was talk to us. I think they've talked to us maybe 3 hours total.
I love it.
And now we're changing their whole net worth, And so a lot of people don't understand what they can do with the assets they have or with assets that they could buy. So it's very important to talk to professionals that know what they're talking about, to have experience. And one of the things that I pride myself with what we're doing here is we're trying to get the best of the best in every area to contribute to what we're building and building it together, right? And getting your knowledge as an appraiser to put that knowledge with Multitaskr and vice versa. And for you to also see all the stuff that we have and you can utilize it for you as well, you know? I know we have a surprise for you that we're going to do right now when we're done with the podcast.
Oh,
and we're going to put it on camera as well to see your reaction. But
very cool.
Some of the team went to your house.
Yeah.
BFP technician. BFP is a virtual floor plan that we call. With that, then we bring up to a 2D, 3D, and we can actually do a VR of things that you want in your house. Sweet. We did that because I know you want an ADU in your home, and when we started talking, you said, I'm thinking about it. And then I told you what we do, and then you kind of saw it, and I said, hey, let me surprise Sidney for him to be able to see how the ADU will look and all that. And so one of the things that I think customers love is that they're able to see what you said, right? They call you and they go, hey, I want to put this ADU over here. What do you think, et cetera, et cetera. But we take it a whole other level where they could actually walk their backyard and actually feel it, right? And say, hey, yeah, this is the right layout. This is what the tenant's going to see. This is what I'm going to see. This is how it's going to feel to be in here, et cetera, right? So I think people are loving that. And then on top of that, we can get you all the financing and put it all together to make sense to your pocket, right? There's a couple programs that we're doing now where you don't even have to pay your first payment up to a year from the point you start. So by then you already have your rental income coming.
I love it.
And so basically you can go through the whole process and pay once you already have a tenant, right? So it's a no-brainer. Once people see everything, they go, oh wow, okay, that makes. Yeah. They get a little scared because it sounds too good to be true. Yeah, but then once they see it's real, they go for it, right? So
I love it.
Yeah, so very happy to have you here, Sidney. Thank you for joining us today at Multitaskr's Home Solution Network podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Everything appraisals with Sidney and appraisal process with the ADUs. Thank you, Sidney. Thank you, listeners, and have a good day. And now our guest will experience Multitaskr's virtual reality platform. Tell us, where are you right now?
Oh, snap. Oh my goodness, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, this is like, oh, wow. Okay. Am I supposed to be holding something right now? Because I'm just...
He's going to give you that. Go back if you want.
Can I turn around first this way?
Yeah, sure.
Because I just saw this and I'm like, there's no way. Yeah, this is unreal.
So that would be your ADU.
So
wow.
You can move around.
How do you like that flow?
Oh my goodness. Just to see this, like kitchen, oh my God, on this is exactly the way I want it.
Go check out your bathroom and everything.
This is exactly what I wanted too. It's like this office space.
Sparkling water's in the fridge.
Yeah, you guys know me already. This is amazing. And then the bedroom, oh, look at that. You guys don't know my house, but I mean, you know it now, but the way the basement looks is, like, I remember you're talking about if it has like crap everywhere, like that's my basement now. But, like, this is like so unreal. Oh my goodness. Oh, Joe, you guys really outdid it this time. This is amazing. I love the collapsible, of course. That's perfect. Yeah. Even the hardscaping, like you guys, the detail is like.
So that's one of the great things, right? That the clients can see all this and choose all this, and that's something you can't really do with.
Shut up. I swear I want to do like a cannonball right now. This is amazing.
You can go on the other side, Sidney.
Go this way?
No, you see where it says option right there? Click that.
Oh yeah, I like this, the lagoon. This is amazing. What? I don't want to like turn around now. I'm like, let's just focus right here. Gosh, now I can really see it. Before it was like in my head, you know? Like,
of course.
You guys really did an awesome job. So I love it. Even up top here, like it's like shiplapped, you know? The detail is amazing. Bedroom window, sweet. It's a perfect kitchen. It's not too big. It's not, it doesn't encumber the space, you know, still allows like the flow from indoor out, which is what I definitely want. You know what's so interesting is I didn't even tell you guys about like this partition coming out right here. of this wall to create an office space. So the design, even without me saying that specific part, is what I was thinking. But it's like you read my mind. It's awesome. You guys are good. Because I don't even think I told Mario all this specific detail. You know, it was like, but I think just by scanning it, you guys can almost do it better than what the client would probably even think they can do, which is impressive. You know, because I didn't tell him like that specific detail. Ugh.
Yeah. So eventually, like if we are going to do this for you, then we can change things for you as well. You know, so it helps a lot too.
Like...
You know what? It helps a lot too. Keeping the wife happy, because now both of you can define things together, and you know, and then that way it's like, hey, we chose it, you know, not just in a plan or trying to build a Pinterest board or something like that.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly. Because the Pinterest are like, yeah. Wow, this is crazy. Oh man. Now I'm gonna go home and be depressed. I'm gonna go in the basement and just be like, it's so, you're seeing it there on the screen, but like to walk, just like to have your own, because I know my house, you know, and I have like the envision in my head, and to actually see it and walk it, because you feel it. You could trick the mind to do anything, and to be able to feel it, I think is the most powerful thing. You know, now once it pencils out, it's like, well, let's just get it started, you know? Yeah. So, I'm really, thank you for that. That was a real surprise. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, thank you for joining Multitaskr's Home Solution Network podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click on subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our next podcasts. Remember, every single podcast, we're going to give you different advice on how to save time, how to save money, and how to create value. Check us out at gomultitaskr.com. Click subscribe.